Hello and welcome to Learn with Yaz. So today we are going to go over how to use MyFitnessPal. So a huge thing when we are looking to lose weight, build muscles, put on weight, anything. One of the most important things is our nutrition and what we are putting into our bodies. So one of the main things to be able to do is to be able to learn what you're having. Okay, so the best way to do that is to track. One of the best apps that I've used is MyFitnessPal. It is a very popular kind of way to do it, and so we're just going to go over how to use it. So your first step in using MyFitnessPal is to download the app. Okay, so we go onto the App Store, find MyFitnessPal. I've already got the app, but if you don't, download it. Okay, so when you first open MyFitnessPal, I've already obviously put in all of my details, but you'll be asked to put in a ton of kind of details. So I'll ask you about your height, your weight, activity levels, and so on. So once they kind of get that, they will they'll throw you a number for the calories that you should be having per day. So MyFitnessPal is really good at tracking your calories, at helping you with understanding what you're having. It isn't a prescriber. It is literally throwing you a number, okay? So please do not always use the one that they're giving you, okay? It's not always the most accurate. The best way is to be able to figure that out for yourself. So step 1, download it. Step 2, we need to figure out what calories that you are going to have. So there's a couple of different options for this. You could kind of leave it with what it's given you, so what it's actually figured out. Oh, sorry about that. So you could leave it with what it's given you. If I've gone onto my diary, mine's given me a load. Obviously every single person is completely different, so don't look at anyone else's calories. Focus on what you have yourself. So to be able to figure out your calories, you can do 2 things. One is spend a week tracking what you currently eat. 7 days, put in everything that you have. Step on the scales. If you have maintained your weight, they're your maintenance calories. If you have put weight on, probably need to drop a little bit to find your maintenance calories. Or if you've lost, you have a little bit of leeway to be able to have more calories to find out that maintenance. So looking at fat loss and weight loss right now, when you find that maintenance calories, which you can do by that or by actually figuring it out properly, once you find that base level of your maintenance calories, you can then work through finding out how many calories you need to have to be able to lose weight. So this is usually around 15% of your maintenance calories, or around 350 to 500 calories. That's the kind of deficit that you kind of want to be making to be able to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Okay, so you have your maintenance calories, you've figured that out either by tracking it, or the second option is to figure it out. There's tons of different equations and things online, or you can use my macro guide. So if you ping me a message, I can send that across and you can use that. But the best way to kind of figure it out, and for me to help you with a generalized kind of theory of how to figure out your macros, is what you would go to more. Okay, so you go on to more, you then scroll down to goals. Okay, click on that goals one, and you then have the things that you would have put in previously, so your weight, activity, and so on. Beneath that you have your nutrition goals, so that's your calories, your carbs, protein, and fat goals. That's what we're looking at. Okay, so your macros, click on there. Your first thing is your calories, so you figure out what calories that you are going to be on. Say for example, mine is going to be, I'll put mine at 1,700. Okay, make sure you click the tick. Okay, you have to click that before moving on. Now you have that, you will then see below that your percentages or grams of the 3 macronutrients. So the 3 main points that we're going to focus on: carbs, proteins, and fats. When looking at these 3 things, again, you can use the macro guide to be able to fully identify your exact percentages of what you will need to do. But generalizing it into here just to start to figure out kind of where you're at and a good kind of starting point. The first place you need to start with is your protein. Okay, so protein is everything. Okay, it is it's hormones, building muscle. If you're trying to lose weight, fat loss, you want to obviously be keeping that lean muscle mass. You burn more at rest when you have muscle. Why would you want to lose it? It keeps you more satisfied, curbing all the cravings that you've got. So yeah, it actually is, little fact for you, in Greek, protein is pure importance, I think. So yeah, what was it? Prime importance. So the Greek idea of protein, prime importance, says it for you. So we're going to look at protein first. How much protein should you have? A very, very quick little slip into protein. You want to have around 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. But that isn't your body weight that you are now. That is your body weight that you think, and again, it's a gauge, we can always tweak it, a gauge of what you think is your normal weight, okay? So is your goal weight, I guess, of looking at like lean body, of what you would kind of want to be. That's the way that you're trying to work from it, okay? So 0.8 to 1.2. 0.8 is your bottom end. 1.2 is if you're really trying to put on a lot of muscle, that's where you're going to go, okay? So you can figure it out that way. For me, that is actually 106 grams-ish if I'm at that. 0.8, 0.9 for me, 106. So that is 25% of what I'm doing, okay? So to be able to go onto that, I've just clicked on the protein with the percentage. There you have, under your carbs, proteins and fats, you have the grams, you then have the percentages. Okay, so protein at the minute, 106 grams of protein, perfect, okay? 25% of your daily intake through protein is really good. You then can turn to your carbs and fats. With these, you can have kind of a leeway, okay? As long as you hit a bottom amount, you're okay. So at least you're giving your body the fuel to be able to do the things that it needs to do using that source. So for example, fat and the hormones, as long as it's got that amount, you're okay, okay? So that bottom level is 20%. So that top amount, you can be going up to 45, 50 kind of percent of fat. If you prefer it. If you prefer to have more fat, have more fat. So for me, I'm actually not a massive fan of fat, but I'm going to actually put mine to 30%, okay? So you'll see that on that total, it is now jumped up to 105, which means something has to give. I'm going to give a little bit with my carbs. So I'm going to take that down to 45%, 190 grams, okay? That's hit 100% of what I need. If you don't fancy that, or you want to do the 0.8 grams per body weight, you could potentially bring your protein down to 20% and pop your carbs up to 50%. As long as we kind of know, and at least you've got that protein goal that we're going to try and be hitting every day, you're doing good, okay? So from here, click the tick, it'll all update, go back. You now have the base, okay? So from here, how do we enter in food? Awesome, okay, so for breakfast, you can go on to add food. Your history will come up, okay? So the things that you usually have will come there. So after a couple of times of entering a couple of meals, it gets a lot easier. Give it time, okay? So for breakfast, I'm gonna say I had a, what did I have? I had porridge. So maybe if I type in porridge, you've got here two types, okay? Tesco and Scott's Oats. I had the Scott's, so that's the ones I will have a look at. On a side note, as you can see, there is one with a tick, there's one without a tick. If you can find a food with a tick, it's a lot better, okay? So that tick sign means that it's been verified by my Fitness Pal to have said that it is okay and it is accurate. So we always need to make sure that we're getting that accuracy. Not every product is going to have a tick, so sometimes you need to cross-reference from, say, a jar and what it says on my Fitness Pal, but you will soon build up that base. Okay, so I had porridge. You go on to here, you have the breakdown at the top of what it is, you have serving size and number of servings. Completely up to you with how you do it. I can change that. If you click on the serving size, you have options here of what things they are. So your top ones, a standard kind of size, 1 gram container, etc. I always just go on to the 1 gram so then I can put in exactly what I had. So I had 60 grams, so I type in 60, tick, then gives me the breakdown at the top. I'm then going to press the tick at the top. That is now gone into breakfast, okay? Then we would then go back in, type the next thing. So I had semi-skimmed. Again, it will start, if you start typing and you've already typed something in, it will come up, okay? So semi-skimmed milk, pretending it's not there. And I had Cravendale. Search. See how you've got one with a tick and the rest aren't with a tick. So on that, next to search results, you've got that little grey box with a tick and the tick only. That is if you can do that, click that one, it will show you only the ones with the green tick saying that they've definitely been verified, okay? So you can click that and it will show you the only ones that have been verified by them as well, which is always pretty cool to add. Okay, so for that, you've got serving size of 100 ml, number of servings. You can change that again, container, cups, litres, however you'd kind of like it. If it's on 100 ml, I had 150 ml, so that's 1.5, tick and tick. Obviously, you can add in as many things as you would like to add up everything. It will then tell you next to that breakfast point, saying 286 calories for your breakfast. At the top, it will have your goal calories, what you've had, exercise, which I'll cover in a minute, and then your remaining calories for the day. Right, so that's kind of entering it in quite simply, typing everything in. The easiest option is if you have packets, containers, cartons, anything like that, is to scan the product. You know you can't really go wrong. So to do this for breakfast, for example, add food. At the top, you've got scan meal or scan barcode. If you go onto scan barcode, you will see my lovely carpet. I have actually got a bit of peanut butter. So I will do that. Scan it. Beautiful. Peanut butter, 1 tablespoon or 15 grams. Okay, so you can have a look. Weigh it if you can. Or if you've used tablespoons, use the tablespoons. But again, a tablespoon of my tablespoon versus your tablespoon will be completely different. Okay, so try and weigh it. Pop something, put your bowl onto the scales, reset the scales, and then put the peanut butter in. It's so easy, and you'll realise straight away how many you're having. So say, for example, I have 1 tablespoon, I'm going to tick that. As easy as that. Scan it, ease in, done. Beautiful. So that is how you scan and how you add them in. The other way is to have our meals saved. Okay, so if we were to go on to add food again, I'm going to just go on to breakfast. Underneath the scan meals, we have all recipes, meals, food. You can add a meal, okay? So you can add yourself in your meals and then you can just reuse them. So if I go and click on meals, I have some saved meals that I already have made in there. So breakfast that saves automatically, and some other bits. I've got another breakfast popped in there as well, spag bowl, bits and bobs in there that we normally do have, okay? So say for example, I'm going to put in my normal breakfast. I could click on breakfast. It would give me a breakdown of what I usually have, so all of the items that I have, and then you can just press tick. It's going to whack it straight in there, okay? So that's my normal breakfast that I would have. If I've added in something wrong, all you would do is from right to left is swipe and delete. So say I swipe, delete, and I don't fancy that peanut butter. And there's my breakfast. I've got my porridge, my milk, flakes, and my protein in there. Cool. So scan, add meals, everything like that. How do we actually add the meal? You've got add food. Next to add food, you've got 3 little lines. If you click on that 3 little line, you've got a few different actions that you can take. You've got save as meal, which is what we were talking about. You can go on there. I've obviously already added this, but you can pop in their name. So protein porridge. You can share that publicly if you want, or just with yourself, completely up to you. You've got everything there. You can even add directions in if you really fancy, and save it. It has been created. The other thing that you can do is just copy. So you don't always have to save every meal, but say you've had something for dinner and you've got leftovers, you're now going to have it for lunch. You can copy and paste that across to tomorrow. So you can say copy to date, and I'm going to put it in breakfast for tomorrow. Press the tick. Cool, we are on our diary. If I swipe to tomorrow, I said if I swipe to tomorrow, it will now be there as well. So you can copy and paste your meals, you can add meals, you can scan barcodes, you can do all of those things to make it so much more simple. Okay, so wheat. From here, if you tap the top bar, so you've got a top bar with your goals, food, exercise, and the remaining. Tap that bar. Here we go. At the top, you've got calories, nutrients, and macros. So we are currently on nutrients, which I usually do leave it on, and it will say how many protein, carbs, fat, etc. They're the ones that I usually look at. If you want to go into the breakdown of everything else, then you obviously can, but it's got the total, and then it's got your goal and how much you've got left. If you go onto your calories, it will take a split. Obviously for me, we've only put in breakfast, but it will do the whole split of everything that you've had and where everything has been split between. And the same with your macros, it does a little diagram there as well. So it is quite good. So say I went over to yesterday's, it then says my total carbs, which was 62%, so actually a little bit over for my carbs. My goal was 50. My fat was 22% when it wanted to be 25, and then my protein was 16, meaning to be 25%. Struggling with the old protein at the minute because I'm doing this vegan stuff, but yeah, so using that you can kind of figure out where you're at, what you're doing, and have a little look over the past week to see what you can kind of do next week. Right, the next thing that I just want to quickly go over is that exercise. When you figure out your calories, it thinks about the exercise that you do. You do not take the exercise and eat your exercise, okay? Pretty simple. Whatever goes into your exercise, ignore. You're just looking at your food. So if, for example, I went and done a run and I burnt 300 calories, in that remaining side, it's gonna add 300 calories. So that would actually be saying 510 remaining. You don't wanna be looking at that. You just wanna be looking on that left-hand side at your goal food and the food that you've had, not the exercise. Ignore it. It's always put into account. Even when you go onto my Fitness Pal, it asks you how active you are, so it's thinking about all of those things before it gives you the calories. So I think we have gone over most things. The only other thing is when you are, say for example, you want to track your weight weekly, if you do it through here, so you can track your weight. Let me see if I can remember how to do it, because I don't. Is it in goals? You can actually put in how many workouts you did as well. Yeah, so you can update your goal. But as you can see, it says there, weekly goals, remove any custom goals. Would you like to continue? So if you do that, it will kick you out of what you put in for your macros and set back to what my Fitness Pal does. So if you do that, make sure you're going to go back in. Also, last part, if your goal is weight loss, for example, and you start to lose weight, say you lose 5 kilos, you then have to think that previous calorie deficit that you've been in might now be a calorie maintenance level. So you might need to reset what you are doing, maybe take off an extra 100 calories or something like that, depending on if you're hitting that plateau and you're now not losing any weight. You know that those calories your body's now got used to, it doesn't need as many, and you might need to drop that down again, okay? But other than that, that is pretty much everything. You've got your diary, your home, progress, you can see your weights and everything if you have inputted them, and then your more. Your last thing, if you would like, is at the top of my screen. My username is Yasmin Pemberton 1994. If you would like to add me as your friend, you can. I can then see what you've been having, you can see what I've been having, and we can kind of go from there. To do that, friends, add, find me, okay? So you can go on email or my Fitness Pal username and ping me an invite. You would then want to go down into settings, click on settings, and then diary settings. Have I gone on the one? No, I haven't. Then towards the bottom part there is diary sharing. On there you need it to be friends only, otherwise no one can see it. So if you would like me to check on your calories, macros, what you've been eating. Have any questions, add me, friends only, and I can check that out for you as well. So that is everything. I know that's a little bit long-winded, but once you actually figure out how to use MyFitnessPal, it's so much easier. It really is, and it's so much. It's such a good tool to use. You don't always have to use it, but if you can at least get used to how to use it, yeah, you're going to be off for a winning start. So that is MyFitnessPal. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you soon.